Four student handbooks dating from 1940 to 1970 were collected, and the dating regulations in each one were researched and compared. How have the dating policies at the university changed throughout the 30-year time period, and how have they remained the same? From 1940 to 1970, students attending James Madison University had to follow strict guidelines regarding their dating lives. The earliest handbook researched, dated 1940 to 1944, clearly lists the dating policies and farther elaborates for each grade level. Freshmen during this time were allowed to have 2 dates per weekend, and sophomores could go out on 2 days per week if they were back by 10 at night. The upperclassmen were given the freedom to stay out until 10:15 only if they were in a group with 2 other students, and were also allowed to drive with their dates if chaperoned. The second handbook followed similar rules. The only adjustments seen were that all students were allowed to stay out until 10:30 compared to the original 10 o'clock. Freshmen and sophomores were allowed 2 dates during the weekend and 2 dates during the weekdays, while juniors and seniors were allowed 4 dates during the week in addition to weekend dates. For all classes, Sunday morning dates were considered church dates, and they were allowed to begin as early as 2 in the afternoon. The third handbook had minor changes from the 1944 to 1948 handbook. The only notable modification was the augmented curfew students had. Compared to the first handbook's curfew of 10:15, students in this time period were allowed to stay out until 11 if she signed a date slip. The date slip itself had to be turned in and approved by the Dean of Women before the date began. More changes are seen as time progresses into the mid to late 60s as the rules became more easygoing. The fourth handbook's first semester freshmen and those on academic probation were only allowed to have 2 midnight dates per month, and only on Friday or Saturday, while second semester freshmen were allowed up to 4. Rules softened as the students became older and gained more privileges. From early on in the 1940s to later in the 1970s, dating regulations that were required from James Madison students gradually became less strict. The university was cautious with who their students were dating because during this time period, many of the women ended up marrying the men they were dating. Although the dating regulations were extreme, they were only established to help students choose the most successful and eligible dates.